Welcome back to In the Element, the figure skating show where we break down competitions and have candid conversations with skaters from all backgrounds in the figure skating world. In this episode, we will be diving into a trip down memory lane with our friend, former US Junior Nationals competitor, Melinda Hu, on the ups and downs of her skating experiences, as well as how skating has shaped her young adult life and career.
As a reminder, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at intheelementfs to stay up to date with figure skating news and send us questions that you want us to talk about on our show. Please also check out our previous episodes covering figure skating at the 2022 World Championships.
Today, we are joined by Melinda Hu, former U.S. Junior National competitor and a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business in the class of 2020. She is currently a product marketing manager at Microsoft and was also the Penn Figure Skating Club president. And Melinda is the founder of Let's Think Health, an Instagram and TikTok platform for disseminating information about gender and reproductive health in an approachable way, and the founder of Around the Table, a newsletter dedicated to driving conversation around AAPI topics. Melinda, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Woo! Okay, Melinda, so the two of us used to skate together when we were younger, way back when. But could you tell us a little bit about your skating background, when you started skating, and kind of like why you started skating?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is just like a Northeast US thing, but a lot of parents just put their kids in the learn to skate lessons, honestly, just to like save them from like feeling excluded at ice skating parties. So I definitely started, I don't know, just to learn generally how to balance on ice when I think I was around 6 years old. And actually, because I missed one lesson, my teacher failed me out of basic one. So I actually didn't go back skating. Yeah, for like 2 years. Honestly, things could be very different if I actually kept skating when I was 6, because I feel like that was like a good time to start. But yeah, basically when I was almost 8, I like retried basic one. I passed because I went to all the lessons. And then when I reached basic 3, I think the coach for basic 3 just mentions to my mom, like, hey, I think your daughter like really likes skating, and like, I mean, obviously she wanted students.
That's
so
how
she
they
was
get
like,
you.
yeah, she was like,
True.
oh, like, yeah, like I think you might want to consider giving her some private lessons. And that's where it all started. And yeah, for context, I'm from New Jersey, so there are thankfully like rinks pretty accessible. I was originally from central New Jersey, so I think the nearest rink was around like 20-30 minutes away. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Do you think you kind of drove that because you really liked skating, or was it more like your parents after hearing from the coach?
I think it's definitely me, because I remember like on Saturdays when I'd go to like the public session, I would literally skate for the whole time, like the whole 3 hours. And then I would go do like piano lessons after. So I think I just really liked it and had the energy for it. So my mom was like, okay, very good. She can exert her energy in this way. So yeah, I think it was mostly because I wanted to do it. Yeah.
And then follow-up question to that, what level did you end up competing at, or like competing until?
Oh yeah, the last like official competition I did, I think it was junior. Yeah, so I did pass my senior freestyle, but then yeah, I think I only competed in junior, I think in 2014, and then I stopped competing.
Have you always skated at Ice House in New Jersey? I know a lot of people talk about that rink because it's like home to a lot of like good coaches. Like, yeah. So like, wait, who coached you? Like, who choreographed you? How was the experience like? I guess just
yeah.
Rink
Yeah, so I think I started in like a local rink. What was it called? It was Bridgewater. Have you been, Emma?
Oh, I actually have. Oh, I didn't know you started at Bridgewater.
After a while, like my mom realized I probably needed like better coaches to learn jumps. So that's when I switched to Ice House. When I was like 11, I think.
How many coaches did you work with? Like, who did you work with?
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, when I switched to Ice House, it was interesting. So I had a main coach and this is my first, I guess, like, I don't know, more like serious coach. He mainly was teaching me jumps, but he was also really good at choreography. If Emma remembers Bok Tong.
Oh yeah.
So he was the coach that brought me to junior nationals. But yeah, so he was like my main coach, and then I had a coach for moves in the field named Wendy. I don't remember Wendy, Emma. And then I had
Wendy.
yeah, she would do she would help me pass all my moves in the field test. And then for choreography, I feel like I rotated a lot between different choreographers at Ice House. I don't know why, actually. But yeah, initially it was like my main coach like choreographed my programs, and then later on I would try different people.
I feel like I did that too with like no explanation.
Yeah, I was like, wait, why didn't I just stick with one person? And then I did sometimes go to a coach for like spins or just like making my spins for like, you know, maximizing points and stuff. Yeah, I think generally at one time I would have like around 3 coaches. Yeah.
Quick transition in this intro then. Could you talk a little bit about your current role at Microsoft and what you do in your position?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in a marketing rotation program for new grads called the ACE program at Microsoft. Most of us in the 2 years, we do product marketing. So that basically means like whatever like product that Microsoft has. You're basically the connection between the product management and engineering teams that like build the features and everybody else basically. My first year I was like owning Microsoft Forms, which is Google Forms competitor. And then this year it's like I'm not exactly on a product, even though my title is still product marketing manager. I basically was telling the world about how Microsoft is innovating in all these different fields of technology. So I guess I was like owning the story of like, how is Microsoft innovating with AI? It's been very interesting to be in a really massive company.
Last question I want to touch on in the intro. So what extracurriculars and hobbies are you still involved in now, or you started since graduating?
Yeah, so I think Cathy mentioned it in the intro, but I guess one of my hobbies or passion areas is in women's health, and definitely learning a lot through like how to be inclusive when talking about this topic and how broad just like health in general is with like a gender lens to it. So yeah, I run an Instagram account where it's basically just like a way for me to keep learning about this topic since I feel so passionate about it. It's been on hold though because work has been very chaotic. But yeah, that's one thing I started in quarantine that was really enjoyable. I guess yeah, I was running this newsletter as well. It was also really fun to just like write again. Like I feel like the last time I wrote anything was in like writing seminar my freshman year. So
probably more in college too.
Well, I feel like business writing is different though. Like, I feel like it's different. It was really fun to re-engage with that. But yeah, other hobbies I have right now. Well, I haven't played my bass guitar in many months, but I was learning how to play the bass guitar. Recently I've been like re-enjoying concerts, like live music. So I think I've been going to a lot of that. Obviously still skating when I can. I try to go like once every 2 weeks still, which is like not a lot.
That's pretty good.
Oh, I mean, I see Cathy go all the time. So like,
Cathy goes like 3 times a week.
Nobody can get on Cathy's level.
I need to skate back like the 18 years of skating that you guys have in like 2 years. So that's why
you're getting close to it.
I don't know about that. I think I'm like this far from like a double axle, so I cannot chase you guys.
So it's very inspirational. I'm just like, okay, I need to get my ass to the rink. So yeah, I go every 2 weeks usually, and then something big generally in like the tech world, I guess, is people like going like rock climbing, bouldering.
Oh yes.
So I've been doing that a little bit. Yeah, reading books when I can. I still go to coffee shops a lot, almost every day.
Coffee shops.
Those are generally my hobbies.
I feel like that's what I admire a lot about you, Melinda, is you're like the queen of everything. You just try so much. Like you're always not afraid to start a new initiative. Like I was literally trying to write your article, and then I was like, how many things have Melinda started and done that is like, actually impactful and great for the world? And I'm just like, I feel like
thank you.
Too long to like include in the whole intro, but I think it's just
Aw.
that you're still like, you know, doing those things outside of like work. So
Yeah, thank you.
And Melinda also hosts a music show. We can also
Yes,
include that.
I
know this,
do.
like, holy shit.
It's so fun. Sammy is a dutiful attendee.
Except for the last one.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, it was basically a continuation of like my friend and I had a slot in the radio station at Penn, called WQHS, and when like COVID hit, they transitioned us to using Discord, and we like experimented with other platforms to do like virtual like music listening sessions, and yeah, it's worked out pretty well. Yeah, I realize music is like a big part of my life, so I really cherish the monthly radio show. It's very fun.
Speaking of music, what kinds of music did you find yourself gravitating towards during your skating career? And what did you usually like to pick for your music?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I feel like most of the time it was like my coaches or my mom would like think of ideas first, and I would just pick among like what they suggested. I think generally speaking, I did lean towards more like upbeat music. I did skate to like more like graceful music, but I think my style generally, I was never super elegant. So I think to show my strengths, I usually skated to more upbeat music. I've done like tango-esque music. Like when I went to junior nationals, it was a very like quick orchestral piece. It was like some like well-known classical music piece, but it was very upbeat. And then I skated to Mulan. I skated to like honestly like some unknown tracks. That was like what I liked. I kind of liked skating to pieces that people didn't know. Although Mulan is very recognizable, but then like other times, like I remember skating to something from like Charlie Chaplin, but it was like a different rendition. Same thing with like one of my tango pieces. It was like a different rendition than most people would use. So like I was like, I'm like it's kind of different, just like changes things up a little bit. But yeah, that I feel like generally speaking, my music choices were slightly more upbeat usually. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like a lot of times people in skating maybe don't necessarily like know to play to their strengths, or are kind of put in a certain box like by their coaches or things. It's really awesome to hear that you kind of have that intuition, and we're always ready to try new things and like that aspect of it, because it's easy to get caught up in like what will get the most points, or you know, those types of things, and play those games. But yeah,
I feel like I can totally relate to that, because I feel like for me, my dream would to be like to skate like a tango like you, but I feel like because I started off so late, it's really hard for me to like skate fast or do difficult turns fast. So I have to kind of be forced to play to my strength, which is lyrical, which is like slower, and you know, it matches my pace more, you know, being more of a beginner. So it's really interesting and great that you mentioned that music can be chosen to play to your strengths.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also interesting because sometimes like I feel like coaches will recommend music and they'll be like, oh, you should try this because it's different from what you usually do or what you're good at. So they'll challenge you to learn some of those other skills. And then it's always like hard in the beginning, but then you grow to skate to the music. So
one day I will skate to tango. One day.
Yes, you can do it.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
I honestly feel like I do hear you, Cathy, because I feel like sometimes, especially like when I got older and a little slower, I was like, oh, it would be nice to be like a little faster. So it's definitely a challenge to skate to like faster music, because you have to like when you're like 75% through your program and super tired, you're like, oh my god, why did I do this to myself? But it's like it's a challenge.
It's usually when the like fastest part is coming, like the footwork or something.
Yes, footwork, and you're just like.
Yeah. Did you have like a particular favorite program or piece of music that you skated to? Was it one of the ones you mentioned?
I think I'm going to say my favorite was the piece I did for getting to junior nationals that one time. It was by Paganini. It was called La Campanella or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it just really embodied who I am, like my personality. And that program actually was choreographed by my like main coach, Mak Tong, and like he did a great job. Like that, I feel like that program was so like, it was so well done for me, for my style. And like I thoroughly enjoyed that whole season. And it was like most exciting, like my first time like in a national stage. And I had a blast. So I feel like that would be my favorite.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that season and kind of that experience of going through it and qualifying and kind of how your skating life led up to that moment?
Yeah, sure. I think so. Basically, I had only gone to Ice House for a full year before this regionals or that season. So I think it was like finally like, adjusting to a higher level of like skating and just like being surrounded by really good skaters. So it was exciting. I think it's like my first season like feeling like I had a chance. Over the summer before regionals, like I even like tested out like different, like I was wearing one dress and then we realized like we didn't like it, so then I like switched a dress. I feel like that's the only time I even did that. Like I guess we were very like thoughtful in that aspect, because I guess they realized like I had a chance to like make it to junior nationals. So I feel like that whole summer of training, I don't know, I feel like I was always very enthusiastic. It was like before I had the pressure of like trying to land a double axel or any triples. So I feel like it's just like mastering my program and just like all the double jumps. So I think, it was like the first time I like trained that hard over a whole summer. But it was like, I don't remember like feeling, I don't know, like stressed out, or I was probably a little stressed out, but I think everything I was like welcoming it with open arms, because like, wow, like I'm like a more serious figure skater now. Yeah, so then basically leading up to regionals, I don't know, I dealt with pressure pretty well, I guess, as a middle schooler. I wish I had some of that resilience again. So one of the competitions like Emma is probably familiar with before regionals is like Mid-Atlantics. It's like in New York. It's at the rink that Cathy goes to.
Yeah.
I competed at Mid-Atlantics.
I remember, I think
fact,
like
I've never
when I was
done
going.
that competition.
Oh, you did it? Oh yeah, because you're a little south of us. I think I remember being like, oh, okay, like I think I'm like ready. Because that was basically a month before regionals. And then during regionals, I actually messed up in the final round, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I like won't get to nationals. But then they were very generous back then, so they took the top 6. I think if I didn't mess up, I might have been in the top 4, but I ended up being 5th place. So I got very lucky. And I think it was just like things really worked out. Like I did really well in the qualifying round, and then I made like one mistake in the final round. And I remember being a little worried, but for some reason I was like, oh, like it'll be fine regardless. Like I had a little bit of I guess just like innate confidence. Again, I'm like very inspired by my younger self. But yeah, it worked out. And then when I went to nationals, I literally had no expectations. I was like, I was gonna do my best. And I did, and I actually qualified for the final round at nationals. So I was like, wow, like this is my year. Yeah, that was the whole experience. That was a full 12 years ago, I guess, at this point, right? 11?
No way.
It's crazy.
Wait, I went like December 2010. So 11 years, I guess.
Wow, that's a
Oh
full
man.
decade.
Yeah. Good memories. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, thanks for explaining a bit about the qualification process and how things were in the time of junior nationals, because now things are so different for these skaters. Like when I went to nationals for intermediate, it was like 4 from each region in a section qualified to sectionals, and then 4 from sectionals. But they've even retired that now, such that I believe skaters at the levels where we qualified for nationals don't get to go.
It's like their Challenger series.
Challenger series, yeah. Like looking back, I'm really grateful that we were in the time where people got to have these experiences. Yeah,
I think otherwise I would have never made it to nationals, honestly. It's just so hard. Yeah, I think junior nationals also like it opened my eyes to like how there's so many like young skaters. I was like, wow, this is so nice. Like I feel like surrounded by like people who, I don't know, had very similar experiences up to this point. So I was like very happy.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you feel like there was good vibes and like camaraderie and then junior
Sportsmanship.
nationals, like as compared to maybe regionals or your
Oh,
home
that's
state?
a good question. I think so. I don't know. I remember feeling very like content. Like I went with one of my friends who she finished 6th place. Her name is Rikako, and she actually is in Seattle with me working for Microsoft as well.
That's
that's
so
So it's very
cool.
special. Yeah, it's very special. Like she and I just spent like the whole competition week together. We like toured Salt Lake City and everything together, with our moms. But yeah, I think generally like I remember feeling so happy because like people like be throwing like little plushies and stuff onto the ice for me. I'm just like, who bought this stuff for me? This is very nice. So yeah, I think it was the first time I was like, wow, like people can be very supportive, even if they don't know me. So yeah, I think it was generally good vibes.
Oh, that's amazing. I feel like Salt
Yeah.
Lake City is also just a really great place for skating competitions.
Oh yeah, it was super cool to be in that ring because I think it was built for 2002 Olympics,
I
maybe
think
even
so.
earlier.
Yeah, at least one of
Yeah.
the rinks.
I'm really excited because adult nationals next year is in Salt Lake City. So I'm like,
Oh, Cathy.
That's incredible. Yes, absolutely.
and Melinda, I guess like we talked a lot about like the great moments in your skating career, like especially that season. But I feel like a lot of like what I hear a lot with people, especially who skated like competitively when they were younger, like said they like experienced like a lot of pressure, whether it's like with like other people who train with them in the rink or just in general, like maybe from their parents or whatnot. Like, did you ever had any like lows in your skating career, and how did you
Oh
mentally like overcome that,
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so many lows. I would say like my first like big low was definitely trying to get my double axel. This is where I kind of like sometimes like kind of resented. I would like go back and resent my like first coach who failed my basic one class because I'm like, damn, like if I was just like a little younger and started double axels earlier, I feel like I would have gotten it faster because I was basically going through puberty at the same time, right? And like you have to adjust to like your new weight and height and everything. It was like really disorienting. So yeah, double axels were super hard to get. Like I was super inconsistent. I landed my first one basically around the time I went to junior nationals, so I was like 12. But then it took like a full, like almost a year and a half, I think, to like kind of get it more consistently. And like I like injured myself. Like I would always have like back pain and like, especially knee pain. Like I went like my mom brought me over to like figure out what's going on with my knee because I would just land like wrong. So like it put like undue pressure on like the inside of my knee. I think yeah, like that first time like period of just like not being able to get a jump consistently was like kind of hard because you're just like making good progress and all of a sudden there's a huge like roadblock. And then yeah, like every time we go into competitions, it's like you're just like dreading that first jumping pass, which is like usually when I tried my double axel. So yeah, I think that was like a very big like hurdle mentally to be like, I should have faith in myself that I will get it. And sometimes like when I would practice, it's just like I'm already going into it like thinking I'm gonna fail. So like I think it really took a toll to my confidence. And then basically after that year, I didn't make it to because everybody was like, oh, like Melinda has a good chance of making it to junior nationals again, but for intermediate. But then I like messed up one of my double axels in my long program, was it? Yeah. So then I think I finished 6th. But this time they were only taking top 4. So then I remember feeling super upset. Because I'm like, oh, I'm like not making the progress I thought I would be making. Or I didn't do as well as I did last year. And then yeah, basically I also moved. So I moved within New Jersey between like middle and high school. So at the same time I was like moving to a new town. And then my main coach and I weren't like vibing well at a certain point. Like he had stuff going on in his life and like I was moving, just things were kind of turbulent. So I think it was kind of hard to feel like emotionally stable with like skating. So yeah, I remember like the following year when I moved up to novice, I don't know if I was like demotivated, but it was kind of just like I was going through the motions. And yeah, I think like the confidence thing was the biggest thing. Like I was having a lot of self-doubt. And like I'm like, oh, like I still like skating, but like this is so difficult, and like I feel like I'm not like, even like just practicing, I noticed the difference. Like I remember around like the period of time I was always like low energy, and just like even looking down on the ice, just like kind of like, okay, this is what I have to do, versus like I really want to do this. Even just like looking up, I feel like now like it even makes a difference. Just looking back, showing yourself in a confident way during practice, like it makes a difference. Yeah, I remember having like very little faith in myself and just being scared a lot. But then finally, like my last competitive season, I was just like, well, I'm ending skating soon, so like I'm just putting my best foot forward. I changed coaches, like felt more stable in high school. One last thing I'll add, with rewinding to like when I didn't make it to nationals for my intermediate year, like with double axles and everything, like my mom was super harsh on me. Like she would just like, if I wasn't like, if I kept falling during practice, like she would yell at me the whole car ride home, and like I'd just be crying the whole time. Because she's just like, yeah, I'm spending so much money on you, like why are you like not doing well? And she like had very little empathy for me. I think that's when I started to like feel very like antagonistic with my mom. Like I was being very argumentative with her. But I just felt so alone. And I think that's the situation where like I wish or like I don't know why it didn't happen more organically, but I wish I reached out to like other skaters, like my friend Rokako, because like now we've connected on how both of our moms are like kind of harsh on us in different ways, and like just like feeling very alone with like such an individual sport. But I guess in my experience at Ice House, like I did not become, aside from Rokako, I did not become very close friends with anybody or like share my like struggles or vulnerabilities with other skaters. You would like cheer each other on, but like from an arm's length. So yeah, I think that was also very hard. But yeah, mom was like super not understanding and like would stress me out. And then yeah, I felt very alone going through puberty, first time encountering like mental health struggles. So it was a lot. But I think like coming out of it, it's like made me more mentally resilient. So
I think a really good point, because when you're younger, I feel like you don't fully understand that others experience the world similarly than you do. So the struggles that you feel, you're like, this is only happening to me, because like when you're a kid, you don't really talk about it to other kids because you don't feel like it's normal to talk about that, especially if your family, if you grew up from like we both grew up with like Asian family backgrounds where like that's not even talked about in our own family. But you feel like, oh, that's not something I can talk to with my friends about, so then nobody knows that everyone's going through these struggles, and then you're just like, oh, I must be me, and then you just feel so alone, and you know, you just keep spiraling downwards. It's not until when you're older you like self-awareness that like, oh shit, like people experience these same bad feelings, like it's not just me, and then it makes it, you know, like we still experience those emotions and feelings and bad feelings, but at least we have people to relate to, you know, ways to like talk to people and start conversations. And I think that's really
I think something also that stuck out to me from what you're saying is, and I have kind of similar experience to this, I felt like I mostly only connected to people and felt close to people at the rink who were also like not just going to school like physically, but also were kind of also working really hard in school and trying to do well. And I feel like those were the few people, maybe like even just one or two people that I could emotionally open up to a bit more. And I was wondering if you had a similar experience and how you balance school and skating.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. That might actually also be a reason why I was like pretty good friends with Rokako, because I think both of our moms and just like us individually too, we like definitely prioritize school. Yeah, I would agree. I think I definitely would feel more close to people who also did that, because I remember I would do homework on the car ride home with like the car light, very dim car light. On the hour long,
like killing your eyes.
Literally, I'm like, oh my god, that's so bad. Anyhow, I'm so surprised I didn't get car sick when I was younger. Like now, if I like read a book, literally, I'm like, oh my god, that's so bad. Anyhow, I'm so surprised I didn't get car sick when I was younger. Like now, if I like read a book for more than 10 minutes in a car, I'm just like, oh my god. Balancing school and skating. Well, I think when I was in like late elementary school, I did go skating in the morning, like at 6 a.m. But I think after a while, like I feel like that wasn't feasible, like trying to go to Ice House because I lived like almost an hour away.
Right.
So yeah, so like honestly, yeah, kudos to my parents. And basically like they would rotate when they worked from home. And this is pre-pandemic where like working from home like wasn't as much of a norm. So like yeah, my dad would work from home like 2 days during the work week. And I think my mom would work from home 1 day. And like they would just like dip like at like 3 p.m. to like send me all the way to Ice House or like any other rink for practice or for lessons. And yeah, I think usually I would like skate 3 out of the 5 days of the school week, and then I'd probably get home like around like 6 or 7 p.m. And like I said earlier, like I would do homework on the car, and then yeah, do homework right after. I think it got harder to balance when I got to high school because like high school is just much more stressful and like more classes and stuff. So I think I was not having enough time. Stressor, I think, yeah, 9th and 10th grade. Yeah, I feel like my life was literally just like skating and school. Like that was basically it. Like even by high school, I think I already stopped playing like piano after I finished like my last exams. I realize now I probably didn't like socialize as much. Like I didn't go to as many like birthday parties or just like hang out with friends after school or anything. It was always just like go skating. And then even on the weekends, it's like you catch up on homework or like I'm just with my family. And like yeah, I'll like go to occasional friend things, but yeah, I think like definitely looking back, the social aspect was a much smaller portion of my time than it was later.
Did you set kind of certain goals for yourself growing up as a skater, and did those change over time? And also, speaking of school, did you always know that you wanted to go to college, right away, and not, pursue like skating in some other way?
I think going into it, and like thankfully, like I guess my mom reinforced it. It was just like doing the best that I could. I don't think I set out to be like, oh, I'm gonna make it to nationals or anything. It was more just like, oh wow, like I have like some talent. Let's see like how it pans out. Can I like reach my potential? So yeah, I think my main goal was just like doing my best and reaching my potential. So then during the years where I was like not doing too well, I was like very hard on myself, not because I'm like, oh, I'm not making it. I was sad I didn't make it to junior nationals that one year, but it was more just like I felt like I was letting myself down by like not reaching my potential. I knew maybe like even when I was like in middle school, like, oh, I'm probably gonna quit skating at some point in high school, because college is number one. Getting to a good college is number one. I need to focus on school. Yeah, I think by the time it was sophomore year of high school, like I took my first AP class, I think, and I was like, oh gosh, need to start focusing on school. So it was like a very natural end, I think, because I also did well my last season. I did what I could. It was such a wonderful learning journey. Like very grateful that my parents could afford this sport for me. That was generally my goal, just to reach my potential.
And I guess speaking on college, so we know that you were our amazing Miss President of the skating team. So even though you stopped like, skating competitively at like a very high level after high school, why did you choose to kind of continue to remain involved in skating in college? And how was collegiate skating kind of different than, I guess, your experience growing up skating?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would still say to this day, like I prefer skating over any other like physical activity to like keep myself like physically active. Like everything else just pales in comparison. I have so much fun when I'm skating. And I'm really glad that I guess like I maintained that like positive relationship, even though like yeah, I've had very negative experiences too. Continued skating. This is like a big part of who I am. So I wanted to keep like at least like just like refreshing my spins and just keeping some double jumps while I was in college. And then at the rink, I met Kiara, our wonderful first president in recent years. She like took initiative to like reach out to me. Like she met me at the rink and she's like, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to rebuild the skating club. And I think basically what I found in college I didn't find when I was actually competing was community, which is like how I met all of you, right? Like like I was saying earlier, I just felt very alone a lot of times when I was skating. It'd be really fun to like see like people I knew practicing. Like I'd see Emma and her brother, and like I'd see Rikako, I'd see like all these people I've known for like so long, but it was like we're all kind of like in our own zone. But then with skating for fun in college, it's like you're just meeting friends, you're sharing your like interest and like how much you like skating with each other. So I feel like it definitely was a way more community oriented, like feeling accepted kind of space. And I feel like I really didn't do shows. I did like maybe 3 shows when I was competing. I didn't really think too much about it, but then I realized it's so fun to share skating with people who don't know how to skate. And shows are very fun. So like I was like, definitely great time to do it during college. So yeah, I continued skating just because like I still liked it. I realized it was a way to meet people. And it's just like no pressure. Like I'm doing it just for fun.
Yeah. And I am honestly like so grateful that you and, Kiara had that like moment, because I felt like I wouldn't be as involved in skating if you guys didn't have that conversation. Because I started skating so late. I started in college, right? So when I first started, there was like not like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I didn't know anyone who skated. And like what you said, like I really loved it, but I felt kind of lonely because it was just something I was doing on my own. But then like somehow like the skating like team and club came along, and I felt like I've grown to know you guys like so well, and you guys are like such a big part of like my college experience and my life after. So like yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Like it's like so admirable that you started skating in college. Like it's so hard to start new physically taxing hobbies when you're older. Like I tried snowboarding for the first time 2 months ago, and oh my gosh, I was so humbled. I was so bad. And like I'm just like picking up something super with like it seeming high barrier to entry when you're older. Like props to you, Cathy.
I feel like I'm getting older and older every day as an adult, and also having to like balance work and I guess like upon work. I know we touched upon your job a little bit, but like do you feel like there's takeaways or learnings from your like competitive skating days that feel like has helped you some way or shaped you some way in terms of your adult life and your career and how you approach like certain things that might happen in your life?
That's a great question. I would say, well, like very surface level, people remember you when you say you're a competitive figure skater. I feel like it's done great things for people to remember me because there are not too many of us that we can say we're formerly competitive figure skaters. So yeah, I've talked about that. Like that's like literally part of my intro when they ask, like when I'm joining a new team and they tell you to type a 200-word bio, I always mention, I'm sure some of you have too. I guess like on a deeper level, I realized how much of myself I poured into the sport. And it was literally purely just like for like my own achievement, right? Like now I have to work for a living. That was for like pure just like testing my limits and like reaching my potential. But this is like, if I am able to put so much and make it that far with something that was just like a nice to have, I'm definitely able to like be resilient, be determined, reach my goals in work too. And like I definitely like credit skating to like building my resilience. So I think that's the biggest way it shows up for work and like being a working adult. I would say like in terms of work-life balance, yeah, I think probably skating was like when I was like competing, it was like the first time I was like testing how I could balance all parts of my life. And honestly, like you're saying, Cathy, I'm still figuring out how to balance all the different parts of my life, especially now that like, we go into the office and like people meet up in person for socializing and we're not just cooped up in our houses. I remember going skating even when it was like pre-vaccines. Like it would just be like much easier to balance things because like I wasn't as busy generally having to take care of myself. So I think probably having to do skating with school and like everything else when I was younger was like probably the first time it tested my limits with prioritizing. And I think that's like the biggest word I've used at work and just generally just functioning as an adult for the first time in a new city is just like, how do you prioritize? What do you use your time on? So I think that's another part of how like skating has like still informed my current life.
Yeah, definitely. You bring up really good points because I feel like as an adult, you almost have even more shit to balance because you have to take care of yourself, but also like you're like, I haven't seen my friends in like 2 weeks. exercise, but I also have to work, and I also have to skate and maintain my hobbies, and it's like, oh my god,
it's so hard.
Yeah, it's like so much harder to do. I don't like calling hobbies because I feel like it minimizes like the impact that it has like in your life. Like I feel like if you're truly passionate about something, it's like it has bigger weight, right? And if you want to continue to make something part of your life after, college and when you're working, it is like very, very hard. So like kudos for you for still being able to like, even go to the rink like every like you said, like once in 2 weeks. That's still like freaking amazing, right? I know you're based in Seattle right now. What is the situation? Are you involved in skating to some capacity in the Seattle community, or met people?
So yeah, I feel very lucky with my timing, basically. So I don't own a car in Seattle, but I think a couple months ago, our main subway line, it extended more north, which is where all the rinks are. And it reaches this brand new rink that was built for like the hockey team in Seattle called like the Kraken. Of course, it's because of ice hockey that they have a new rink.
Classic.
Everything's driven by money in the skating business. But I'm really grateful. Yeah, like time worked out where it's a beautiful rink with floor to ceiling windows, and like I can take the subway. Yeah, I can take the subway there. That's where I was yesterday. And like I've gone a few times with, I mentioned Rikako, who I trained with back in middle school, and we went to nationals together and everything. So I feel really lucky that she's here. And then my other friend Alicia, whom all of you are friends with as well, that I met at Penn and did skating with as well. She also works for Microsoft and lives, both Rikako and Alicia live 5 minutes away from me, like literally 5-minute walk from me. So I've been lucky to like go skating with them a couple times. But I will say, like every time I do go to freestyle there, it's all just kids. Kids as in people who are definitely younger than like 15. So I'm like, I haven't found like a community there just yet. And I think it might just be also I don't go frequently enough. But I do, it's actually like been interesting because I have learned even through coworkers, like some people who are learning skating as adults. So I feel like if I wanted to take initiative like at work to be like, oh, like I always offer, I'm like, I'm very happy to teach you how to ice skate and like go skating with you, but I haven't like organized anything yet. I feel like it could be a great way to build community from like the amateur group at work, but I haven't met anyone through skating clubs just yet. I think like the more official like skating clubs are even more north, and you probably need a car to get to those rinks. It's not like super far, but like very inconvenient using public transit. Yeah, so Alicia and I were thinking about that, but we haven't taken action just yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like skating is not a super accessible sport, so like also like one, it's expensive. Two, if you don't live near a rink, it's like such a pain in the ass. So like totally feel you. And
I have a question for Cathy and Melinda. I'm curious. I feel like from my experience, it's always like young kids or like not like parents, or like not parents, but like people whose kids have grown up and they're just like skating for fun, like older people. Where is that like group of people that is like 20 to 30-year-olds? Maybe they're just like busy living their life.
That's a good question. I think they come to the public sessions because like I've gone to like public skating sessions with my friends. It's like people just go skating just as a social activity. So that's where I feel like I see all the people in their 20s. I don't know if I've met anybody who's like Cathy, who's like trying to actually like learn new skills in skating and in their 20s. It's like mainly I've seen people our age just going for fun or socializing. I don't know. What about you, Cathy?
I think for me, it was like really interesting because I didn't know like that small demographic existed, and I think it's growing, to be honest. Like I think it wasn't really like a thing, but I think more and more you're seeing people who like try it out in college or like start skating in their like early 20s or late 20s. I actually met quite a handful of people in New York that are all like in their 20s who started like later. So it's like really cool to actually meet these people and like be very similar. When you talk about adult skating, there's also a huge range of like people involved in the sport still. So but sometimes it is very hard to like, find that little niche of people. But like I literally recently like met a new friend when I went to US sectionals, and she is so freaking good. I think she skated a little bit when she was younger and just like stopped. And she started in her 20s. Like I think she's 26 or 27, and she recently won like the US adult national championships or something. Like I couldn't be there at nationals this year, but she's so inspiring to like watch.
Oh,
Just like, and it's so relatable because I'm just like, oh, she's literally in my like same age. We competed against each other at sectionals. So it's really nice. And we got dinner in New York, and you know, it's so nice to meet people and like hear about their skate.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear.
And I would say, like, just to wrap up the whole experience, we talked about a lot, like the ups and the downs. If you were to do it all over again, do you think you would? And would you do it like any differently than how it went down?
Oh, yeah, no, I would definitely do it again. For sure. Yeah, like
not get failed by the first coach.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure all of us are just like, yeah, like skating has like made such a impact on our lives. Like, of course, I would do it again. But I think the one thing I'm always wondering is, wait, what if I did start skating at age 6? Like that, I feel like that could have made such a big difference. I feel like I don't think it would have changed like when I quit skating, but like it might have accelerated my trajectory, or like, yeah, maybe I would have been, I could have like competed more seriously earlier on, but you know, it's fine. I still turned out just fine, and I still got what I wanted out of skating. But yeah, I would definitely do it again. But then one thing I've like reflected on with Rokako at least is like, I realized like because we're so young, wasn't doing like adequate self-reflection or like self-coaching in a sense. I would just like listen to what my coaches told me and never think about, oh, like I want to track like my goals in this way and like keep a little journal, or like I feel like I wasn't as, I don't know. It's like probably nature of just being young and like just I'm an adult now, so I know like this probably would have helped. But yeah, like I feel like I wish I kind of took more control of my training, or yeah, just kind of was just more aware of like, why am I doing this? Like even just like on the days where, for example, I was telling you how like, let's say I like fell on like 80% of my deluxes that day, I could have just like sat down, but I feel like life was moving too fast, but like I could have sat down and just like, even in like 3 bullet points, be like, oh, like I think maybe like this position was just like not right for today, or like, I just feel like I could have done more reflection is the TLDR. None of my coaches ever like encouraged that, saying like no one ever said like, oh, Melinda, like, you know, just like think a little bit about how you want to do this differently, or let me know if you feel like this footwork doesn't fit you right. Like I don't think I like had agency as much as I hoped, and I didn't even realize that back then. So that's one big thing I think I would hopefully like in an alternative life, what is it, in the multiverse, whatever, hopefully another version of me had some kind of mentor that could have told me that, because I feel like I probably would have made like better progress, honestly.
No, I sometimes think about that too, where I just like, what would have been like if I actually started skating as a kid instead of an adult? And I wonder if I would have a different relationship with skating if it's like when I was like younger and it was maybe not my like own choice like 100%, and I didn't have like the agency that you mentioned. Yeah. If my experience would be like different, right? Because it's like as an adult, it's so much harder to learn new skills, but at least I have a lot of agency over like my training. I tell my coach, like my coach has like, what do you want to work on? I was like, well, X, Y, and Z. But when you're a kid, your coach is like, let's do this, let's do that.
Yeah,
it's like very
exactly
different. So I don't know. Sometimes I regret not starting younger, but sometimes I'm like, maybe I don't. So
yeah.
Sure. So on that note, Melinda, do you have any last words of advice to currently competitive figure skaters, or maybe skaters who want to look to go to college and pursue careers in tech and business? Do you have any just last words?
Yeah, I think, oh my God, I was gonna make a pun, but I'll make it anyways. I think being a skater and entering any field gives you a competitive edge.
The dad jokes are coming out. I love it.
I'm so cheesy. It's like out of like sheer need, like we have built like a strong mental state, and we just like we have to be determined and like resilient, and like that doesn't mean things get easier, like things are still hard, but I think like try to nurture this like resilience for so long. And I think that takes you super far in any career. But I guess like for tech and business specifically, let me think. All of us have done like individual skating. And again, I guess it's not exactly what is tech and business, but I think being able to like stand on your own and like advocate for yourself and like, you know, track your own progress, being able to drive things by yourself is like very needed in my role and probably in any career. And I think you have to do that with like competitive skating. So I will say the one thing is like reflected on earlier, like I wish I had reached out more for help generally, but I didn't even know to do that. And that's like a muscle I'm still like, you know, developing. But it's like in work, I guess this is more applicable to like tech. You have to work with so many different people, like so many different roles. Although that might not have been like innate to like individual skating, I feel like just bringing like your, I don't know, like whatever you're doing for yourself and like your own progress, driving your own projects, it's like extending that to like other people is like something that I would recommend if currently competitive skaters can do anything about it, aside from just like reaching out to like coaches or just kind of like managing themselves better. But in the real world, in the workplace, especially in tech, it's like you have to deal with so many different people and perspectives and interests. That's something that's not as reflected in skating. So I feel like that's something I'm like still trying to figure out since I'm so used to being by myself with skating. And then I think I'll just end by saying the drive, determination, all those things that we have to have for skating, it takes you so far with being in the tech or business world. So
yay! Thank you, Melinda, for joining us. Also, it's her birthday today, so happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you. There's no other way I'd want to start my birthday. I'm very happy to be here with y'all. And I think you would all appreciate this. I ended up winning, so through work, I ended up winning tickets to the, I guess, Pacific Northwest Ballet. So I'm seeing Swan Lake today for my birthday.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing.
And the reason like we even like had that chance to be entered into this raffle was like, I think like the first Filipina like principal ballerina dancer is like in this ballet company, and she like gave a talk at work, and she's also from New Jersey. And like in the Q&A section of this event, I like told her, I asked her a question because I was like, oh yeah, I used to be like a formerly competitive figure skater, and like I tied so much of my identity to being a skating, and now that like I don't skate anymore. And she was talking about, but like, you know, ballet, there's also like a natural end point, like I guess maybe in your 30s, like because she's still performing right now. I was like, and she was talking about like moving on with her life after performing. So I asked her like, oh, like how do you feel about like that transition? And so she gave a really great answer. But anyhow, I'm seeing her today. It'd be really cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Melinda, for joining us today on the podcast.
No problem.
So much.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much, Melinda, for joining us today.
As a reminder, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at intheelementfs to stay up to date with figure skating news and send us questions that you want us to talk about on our show.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave us a comment down below on your opinions and thoughts, because if you're a figure skating fan, you are definitely opinionated. Be sure to subscribe. We are available on YouTube if you want to get some snazzy visuals, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to just listen to our crackly voices. Thank you again. Until next time, stay edgy.